There's a current migration trend of people moving from Detroit, Michigan to Louisville, Kentucky. This trend has captured the attention of many. Many individuals and family relocate here considering questions such as economic opportunities, cost of living, and overall quality of life. So if you're curious why people are moving from Detroit to Louisville, be sure to stick around as we discuss the various factors that are influencing this trend. Welcome back. I'm Katie Skeen, a local realtor here in Louisville, Kentucky, and on my channel we discuss all things related to living in Louisville and moving to Louisville, Kentucky. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you a really interesting trend of migration where people are moving from Detroit to Louisville, Kentucky. So let's jump right in. The first area I want to discuss is economic opportunity. Now, there is a big disparity between the job opportunities in Detroit versus the job opportunities in Louisville. So let's take a look at each one. Detroit is known as the Motor City, and it houses two of our biggest automotive brands, including General Motors and Fiat Chrysler. These are ranked among the state's major employers. In 2018, Ford Motor Company purchased an important property in Detroit, and they're currently working on that to get it ready for an autonomous Ford plant. Now, in addition to opportunities in the automotive industry, they also have opportunities in education and healthcare. The local government and the public school system are also areas where people are able to find job opportunities in Detroit. Now let's take a look at the job market in Louisville. Some of our largest employers include UPS, Jefferson County Public School System, Humana, Ford Motor Company, KFC Yum Brands is headquartered here. Of course, if you're looking for jobs in higher education, we have the University of Louisville as well as several other notable universities here in our city. If you're into spirits, you might want to check out Brown-Forman. Louisville is also the hub of our state for healthcare. So if you're looking for a job in the healthcare industry, you'll want to check out Norton Healthcare and also University of Louisville Hospital System. If we look at the rankings and indexes in the U.S. News and World Report, we see that both Detroit and Louisville have a 5.8 out of 10 on their score for job opportunities. Now, these scores are tied, and it might be a toss-up between the two cities as to which one is actually the best city for economic advancement. The next area we want to look at is the cost of living. This is a really important factor when considering two cities to live in. Let's go ahead and pull up our cost of living index chart for the two cities. Now, it's important to remember that the cost of living index gives an average score for the United States of 100. So if a score is below 100, it's below the national average, and so on and so forth. So when we look at the overall scores for Detroit versus Louisville, we see that Detroit has an overall cost of living score of 91.8, and Louisville has an overall cost of living score of 89.8. If you compare these different numbers, the biggest disparity is actually in the median home cost. Now, I did confirm this number with some Redfin median home cost data for Detroit. I would guess that what is going on here with the median sales price is that Detroit has a lot of suburbs that are cities of their own, and so maybe median sales price in those different areas would be higher because this is especially low. Here in Louisville, we're looking at our entire Jefferson County for Louisville when it comes to the median sales price, so that's pulling our average up a little bit. But you'll see that the median home cost in Detroit says $71,600, and the median home price for Louisville is $229,700. The other cost of living scores are relatively similar except for the categories of transportation and miscellaneous. Transportation is significantly higher in Detroit than in comparison to Louisville. Now, this is really saying something because in a lot of my other videos, I always comment on how our transportation score is slightly higher than the national average. Well, Detroit's is well above the national average for transportation. The other area that you'll see is significantly higher for Detroit is the miscellaneous category. It has a score of 114, whereas Louisville only has a score of 90.3. When you take all of these factors into consideration, you are going to see that Louisville has a slightly more affordable cost of living. I do want to make sure to note that if you are considering living in Detroit, you're going to want to make sure to get in contact with a local realtor there. I'm happy to get you connected and make sure that they are well aware of the market in Detroit because these different suburbs are going to have a different median home price. Let's take a look at our educational opportunities and school systems in both cities. The educational systems in Detroit and Louisville have distinctive characteristics that are shaped by their socioeconomic realities as well as their cultural and city priorities. Detroit's education system has had challenges such as financial constraints, declining enrollment, and infrastructure issues in the recent years. The city is trying to improve their educational outcomes through initiatives like charter schools, partnerships with educational organizations, but the disparities in resources and academic achievement has caused broader socioeconomic inequalities. Now, if we compare this with the Jefferson County public school system, it's hard to compare these two. The Detroit public school system has just over 48,000 students, where Jefferson County Public Schools has around 90 to 100,000 students. So Jefferson County Public Schools is almost double the size of the Detroit public schools. This is, of course, because the Detroit schools probably have suburban school districts surrounding their main city school district. The Jefferson County Public Schools has had problems of its own in recent years. If you've watched any of my other videos, you've heard about some of those issues. But some of the things that have caused Jefferson County Public Schools to improve would be their magnet programs, also their programs promoting diversity and academic excellence. JCPS has prioritized initiatives to address equity issues and enhance student achievement, although challenges related to funding and resource allocation remain. Both cities strive to provide solid quality education for their students, but both cities appear to be struggling. Now, if we look at their U.S. News and World Report rankings, we have to compare the two states. Michigan is ranked 37th and Kentucky is ranked 32nd. So Kentucky is slightly above where Michigan is ranked, but both are in the bottom half of the United States. Neither one has a glowing reputation for their educational systems. Another factor that would impact people moving from Detroit to Louisville would be the weather. Now, this might seem like a trivial thing, but I think there are some significant differences in our weather patterns for both cities. Because Detroit is more of a northern state, it's going to experience climate marked by cold winters and warm summers. Often the temperatures are going to drop below freezing and they're going to have significant snowfall during the winter. I imagine that in Detroit, you're seeing a pretty steady amount of snow throughout the winter and even snow that's remaining on the ground. Now, in comparison to Louisville, we're going to get 1 to 2 larger snowstorms a year, and typically it's melting within a day or two. So we are not consistently dealing with the winter snow here in Louisville. Now, if you think that that means that it's more difficult to get around or to commute in Detroit, I would say I'm not too sure, because Detroit is set up to be able to take care of this type of winter weather. They're salting the streets, they have snow plows, they're really taking care of their city in comparison to Louisville, which is not as prepared to take care of winter weather. So when we do have that winter weather, they're trying their best, but it's not going to be as efficient as it might be in Detroit. Now, Louisville is more of our southern area of the United States. It's going to have more mild winters, as we discussed, but it is going to have more hot and humid summers in comparison to Michigan. Everybody knows how beautiful and mild and amazing the weather is in Michigan in the summertime. Detroit is having average temperatures in the 80s in the summer months. Now, in comparison to Louisville, the average temperatures in the summer here is in the 90s. We have very high humidity. It's very hot, sticky, and sweaty. Louisville is more well known for their severe weather with our flash flooding, tornadoes, and extreme thunderstorms. Detroit is not going to have as much severe weather, but it is also prone to tornadoes, and they do have tornadoes there. I hope you've enjoyed this video comparing Detroit, Michigan to Louisville, Kentucky. I'm curious, let us know in the comments, which city do you think you would prefer to live in? If you're curious about more information about moving to Louisville, be sure to check out my video, Moving to Louisville, Kentucky. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.